in Delhi. Delhi was far more limited in marrying a Brahmshatri, marrying a Kshatriya, marrying a Christian or a Hindu or which only came to me when I was 18 years old.
The TWA Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we try and go behind the thoughts that animate the actions of those who create the arts. And today it is an honor because it's a special day as well. And I've been a long-term fan of your work, Dolly ma'am. Thank you very much. The incredible Dolly Thakore, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I am very bad at singing, so I will just say a very happy birthday to you, ma'am. And may this day stretch for years and years more.
Oh, it's started wonderfully being able to talk to you, but please tell me, how do you know who I am? That's what I want to know.
I have followed your career rapidly because I am my profession is also that of a radio presenter, which is now so crassly called a radio jockey.
Okay.
There's theatre as well that I've followed, and everywhere that I've gone.
But where, Sarthak?
In Delhi itself, mostly,
okay.
And which, of course, fortunately, with the advent of the internet, I think boundaries have blurred. So thank God for that. But this is about your journey. So where did this fascination with the arts start, ma'am?
Look, I have been on stage since I was 5 years old. Okay, my father was in the Air Force, and there were these regular, I don't know whether they had, Independence Day or Republic Day. I have lived so long that I don't even know whether they had those in those days. But anyway, at 5 they certainly did. And the Air Force wives used to get together and have a little function. And I played Krishna. I must tell you that first experience, because I played Krishna and the curtain opened, I was all painted blue and whatever, and I took my first step and the sari opened up. So the curtain came down, the ladies rushed from the wings, they tidied me up, and when the curtain opened again, there was a huge applause. And I've loved that applause. So I've been either in speaking or elocution or dramatics or whatever because of that applause. And it's followed me, thank God, till today.
And yes, much deserved as well, I must add. Those were times when everything was analog and everything was all heart, and now technology seems to be increasingly taking over. How's that journey been?
Since you asked me how I started, at age 9, in those days, Hamid Sayani used to be the big voice to listen to, and he used to run Ovaltine Amateur Hour, which used to be popular English songs, and I never missed it. I was 9 years old, but come 8 o'clock, we used to rush to only had radios, so we rushed to the radio and we listened to that. 10 years down the line, I met Melville de Mello. Now, these have been my heroes, and I've always wanted to be like that. I never ever thought that I'd come to a stage where people would want to listen to me or try to hear me or imitate me. But that's how I started. No official training, there were no schools, there were no, which taught you this. Just theatre in school, and here I am.
And that's the beauty of it, no, ma'am. At that point of time, I'm sure we were allowed the luxury of making mistakes, while that room seems to have shrunk in present
Well,
time.
let me tell you about making mistakes. I was in Loreto Convent, Lucknow, and I was speaking for the Mother Superior who had come. And those used to be big occasions. And I was to declaim on the revolution of 1857 was not a mutiny, but a war of independence.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I was all of 15 years old. And of course, I stood there. And in those days, we were all taught to stand like this and speak. So I stood there before the whole school, and I spoke brilliantly. You learned your script by heart. You never spoke extempore. So I learnt my script by heart and I repeated it, and I was very pleased with myself. And I came and sat down. When the thing finished, Mother Superior came up and said, "That was very good, Dolly, except it is not the cows of fat and pigs, it is the fat of cows and pigs." But I didn't even know that I'd made that mistake. But it didn't faze me. I continued. Now, a lot of people give up when they make errors. And I'm not saying that I haven't made errors either in my life, but I continued.
And as you've said so eloquently in the name of your book itself, regrets none.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But as I was saying, would you agree, ma'am, that consequent generations have forgotten how to make mistakes, and more importantly, when they do fall, how to get up, dust their knees?
I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of upbringing they've come up with. Not only just parents, because my parents, like every other parent, wanted you to be, but my parents weren't the kind who pushed you to do anything. In fact, poor things, they didn't know what elocution was, they didn't know what debates were. But I was interested in it, and I hope that I taught them a great deal as a result of that. But I had an aunt who was a teacher, and she was a teacher at the Convent of Jesus and Mary in Delhi. She's 98 years old today, and she's still there. But I owe a great deal to her, because she was the one who used to make us recite poems at night just before dinner and things like that. So I suppose that's the kind of cultural background that one has had. We weren't taken, there were no plays to be taken to, there were the occasional Geoffrey Kendall coming, etc. But there was no personal involvement in it. And I suppose just one's interest, and I would say to all listeners and all young people and everybody who wants to follow our line of upbringing, to be confident, don't be scared to make mistakes, don't be scared to apologize, and carry on.
That's important, isn't it? I mean, I think failure is what makes us human, right? Otherwise, it'd all be so clinical, no? And you've actually been celebrating your mistakes for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Wrote a book
I've
about it
been
as well.
there, I've done that, and I'm here now.
And the beauty of the book was that, it was just such an unequivocal, such a grand celebration of life. There was no, of course there was academic rigor, I mean, you can't deny that, but the chronological order was always subservient to the art of storytelling, and that's what's been fascinating to me.
You know, Sarthak, what's beautiful is that I have a memory, or I had a memory, where I never forgot any detail. Every name, every event, everything. So let me relate a very interesting anecdote. Perhaps 4 or 5 years ago, I was invited as chief guest to the Valley School in Doon. Okay? Now, I went, I did whatever I had. They were, in fact, producing The Lion King, and I happened to be there for that. And at the end of that, having been to Doon, now in 1982 or 83, I had gone to the All India Military Academy to declaim at the declamation contest that they used to have.
Right.
And the speakers were Hidayat Habibullah, Ambika Soni, and me.
Okay.
And I came third. Hidayat came first, Ambika came second, and I came third. Who cared whether I came third or not, but I was there and with them, and I was very thrilled to be there. Now, and at the All India Military Academy, I mean, the formality of the thing, and all these young cadets dressed in their uniform, and it was such an amazing sight. And they used to lot when you spoke and everything. And you met all the colonels, and you met, I don't know whether there was only one general in those days, so I don't think the general came to it. But there were very few colonels and very few brigadiers either. But that was the period of the army, etc. Having done that, I was now returning, as I said, 5-6 years ago. So that was 1983.
Right.
And now I was going in 2000 whatever. And so I said, since I'm going to Doon, I have to go to the All India Military Academy. And so I told the principal, and they said, oh, you have to apply a week in advance if you want to visit it, because there's so much security and, the kind of problems that have been existing all around. Sitting next to me was a lady who was, I think, in charge of me, and she said, my husband is a brigadier, and he's at the military academy, and I'm going to perhaps put this request to him. Let's see what happens. The next day, I got a phone call saying, ma'am, you ought to come to the All India Military Academy. So I went there, and it was, of course, all deserted. There were no cadets, there was nobody there. But I stood on the same spot where I spoke that many decades earlier, and I took pictures, and there was Sam Manekshaw on my right, and it was so lovely. And that is an excitement and a memory and a emotion that I can never forget.
And that's the thing, no, ma'am. Do you think that we celebrate experiences as much as we need to be celebrating them now?
Well, I celebrate them. I don't know whether and it's a personal thing. It's whether other people want to do or not.
Sure. Also, did gender ever play a part in what you had to do? I mean,
well, gender only played a part when I began commentating. Because for Films Division, I used to do all their commentaries for Newsweek and things. And there, the men at that time used to be paid more than the women, and they also got more opportunities than the women did. But we fought for it, and we were much better than any of them.
Undoubtedly, you've been an inspiration as a voice and as a face, an inspiration for generation upon generation. Actually, it's just I can't begin to tell you how much of an honor it is to actually be sitting here and asking those questions that have been whirling around in the head for so long. But as you said, debates, declamation, they are, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, they're about nuance. And we seem to be losing the nuance of the debate increasingly. The blacks and the whites seem to be taking over rather than the grays of the colors. Would you agree?
Yeah, but then look, this was generations ago. Right. The world has changed. Right. Look at what has happened today. I mean, I'd hate to get into a political discussion over that, but things have changed. We were so confident, we were so accepting of everybody. It doesn't matter what food you ate, whether you knelt down or you stood up and prayed or you bent down or you rang bells, or none of that mattered, and or how you dressed or what language you spoke. And I'm very fortunate that I belong to Defence Services, and I think the Defence Services has a lot to do with it of that time. Even the Defence Services has changed today. But at that time, you could be living, your next door neighbor, but you never asked who they were or what they were. They sent food to you, you sent food to them. There was no demarcation and discrimination of any kind at that time.
Also, I think ideas are increasingly also becoming subservient to agendas. Sometimes they're also being weaponized. You think that's a fertile ground for arts to flourish, or is that a threat?
No, I think it's a good thing for art to flourish. Can you repeat that thing again?
I'm saying that ideas are becoming more and more of an agenda for a lot of people. Some ideas are also being weaponized in a sense to serve a certain narrative. Do you think that's a good...
I'm sorry, but that has all happened in the recent years. We didn't have that. I mean, being in the theatre or in debates or anything, you talked about every issue that existed. You celebrated every issue that existed. And it's only recently that if you speak out, you're suddenly either imprisoned or stoned, or people come and beat you, or that kind of. It never happened before. And it's a sad reflection on what the young people are facing today, because their minds are getting limited. They are not as open as we were, and sadly, COVID has made it even worse. But I mean, we had such a happy upbringing. And yes, we were passionate about the independence at the time and fighting for that and revered everybody who stood for that. But at the same time, remember, we were brought up from the British system. All our education system was British. But it was a fairly equitable kind of system. The British didn't tell you either that you become a Christian and therefore only you can do this. You had none of those demands on and your parents didn't tell you what to do or what not to do. You know, you respected everyone, and that's the kind of world I want.
But have you personally experienced any shrinkage of the creative space that you occupy?
Do you know, shrinkage certainly, but became aware of it in Delhi. Delhi was far more limited in marrying a Brahmshatri, marrying a Kshatriya, marrying a Christian or a Hindu or which only came to me when I was 18 years old. Before that, we had no awareness of that kind of thing. But suddenly, when you became of marriageable age, you began to feel what the parents were saying, not grandparents, I didn't interact with too many grandparents, but you know, that's when you became aware of these kind of limitations and narrow-mindedness of the human mind.
Sure. That's a very, very strong point, actually. Coming to the process of preparation, I mean, facing an audience can be quite daunting, but ever since that applause at the age of 5, you seem to have taken to it like fish to water. But was there ever a process of preparation that you...
No, I do a lot of preparation.
Right.
It's not that you just walk on. And in fact, you notice that today, that people do not prepare. I mean, even today when I'm asked to interview somebody, I do a lot of homework. And as a result of that, I will tell you, I was interviewing Vijay Merchant, who is the great cricketer, who has a stadium named after him, a pavilion named after him in Mumbai. And while, like every Indian, cricket is a passion and a game, but I never played it. I just knew, and in those days, our passion used to be the cricketers, not the game. But when I was asked to interview Vijay Merchant, I studied everything that there was to do, and you won't believe it, that interview at JNU is shown as an example of how an interview should be conducted.
Wow.
And I heard that much later when I was doing a program, I think it was Parak or something, with Vinod Dua, and the cameraman of Vinod Dua, who was working with us, he came and said, "Ma'am, we heard you when you interviewed Vijay Merchant." And that was a good 15 years later, you know. I mean, so I love those memories. I love that. And if that is the kind of impact that one has made, what more can one ask for?
Could not agree more. And that's the thing, no? I mean, in today's digital age, the seduction of success is so strong that we forget that there's a process to reach those milestones. There's a process to reach that 30-second perfect reel, and nobody seems to be talking about that process enough, no?
Well, a lot of people are embarrassed to share what their pitfalls could have been, or their disappointments could have been, or what the remarks and criticism could have been. I'm not.
Yeah, that's just two words that have eloquence built into them, which is also something that you experience when you read the book. Regrets None. That's the name of the book. In case you want to read it, it's fascinating reading, because there's just generation upon generation of education there. So probably
talking about the book, can I just say that I've loved the fact that a lot of people have come because they recognize the similarities and familiarity with the people that I've written about, that they are still contemporary. And the other thing is that I would advise every young woman to read that. Not that I want sales promotion for HarperCollins, who are the publishers, or for myself, but really, I think it should give courage. It should give people an insight into that you can achieve anything if you believe in yourself. Don't be embarrassed by anything that you've done.
Wow, that I just think that's the perfect way to to end an interview with Dolly Thakore. Never be embarrassed about something you've done. The stages seem to be shrinking, though. One last question, of course. The stage seems to have shrunk into those 5-inch screens and the 7-inch screens that we occupy. But anyone wants to own that stage, whatever it be, whatever the size it be. What would your advice be to them?
I think believe in yourself and be honest. You must feel strongly about what you do. Now look at the kind of theatre I've done. I am afraid I'm not into comedy theatre. Okay, though they say that life changes when you believe in comedy, and I have lots of friends who are only into comedy. But I'm not a comedy actress. I've been doing vagina monologue for 20 years. And the number of people that we've changed, not that we're doing it in huge big halls, we've traveled all over India. We've even done it in Gujarat, believe it or not. The only place that we were not allowed to at one time was Chennai. Right. And we were stopped from going to Chennai on the eve of our departure. And we were going with Eve Ensler, who's the writer of the play, and with Jane Fonda and Marissa Tomei. Wow. But many years down the line, a women's club in Chennai had a private show, and we flew to Chennai, we did the play, and while we charge for tickets 100 rupees or 50 rupees or do it free even, those people charged almost 2,000 rupees a ticket, but it was house full, and it was done at the what are the hotels in Chennai.
One of the big ones.
Well, the big ones. Right. I forgot that. Forgive me, my memory's now gone, but it's a very popular hotel. Right. Not the Taj, but the parallel to the Taj over there.
I see.
And but we did it there, and it was wonderful. The people that came, the women that came, and we've had people come and touch our feet. We've had people come and cry, celebrate their engagements, their marriage, their anniversaries on stage with us. It's done wonders for a lot of women.
Absolutely. And those 50...
And I'm very proud of it, so.
and so you should be. The legacy that you are building for us to follow is one that we are proud to follow as well. So, of course, all that remains to be said is thank you very much for your time. But we won't let you go before you tell us the story of the bangles. You've told us that you've had it for 50 years, but you promised to tell us that story. I sleep with them, they never come off, I bathe with them. And in most of the things that I've done subsequently, I've never had to remove the bangles. But there have been one or two plays, like when I did Death of a Salesman, I had to remove them. But let me tell you the start of these bangles. People may be shocked, but who cares? Dolly Thakore, who I'm divorced from, at the first divorce anniversary, he gave me 6 very thin silver bangles. And the next divorce anniversary, he gave me these 2, which I've still got on. And then the 3rd anniversary, he gave me this one. So, but those 6 ones have gone because they broke and they were. Okay. But since then, I've been buying the silver bangles ever since. And I still have those 2 that perhaps Dilip gave me, but here I am. That's how my collection of silver started. Again, a fascinating story for those that are able to accept it for what it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's important, isn't it? To learn and to understand what the stories mean. We're not going to spell it out for you because the process of discovery is just a fascinating process, and to have discovered what goes on behind that mind has been absolutely fascinating, Ms. Dolly Thakore. This has been an honor. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I've loved being with you, and I hope that the audience has enjoyed this also.
I hope you did. If you did, please do let us know. Teamwork Arts Podcast. Just search for us on social media, and you will find us. Remember #joy or whatever else that it is that you want to put. But do tell us. It's important. What's going to be coming up next? For that, you'll just have to stay tuned to Teamwork Arts Podcast. Thank you for listening.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, subscribe to our channel now. We have a new episode out every Friday.